get right into it. So, I was playing with Centurion a little bit a while back, or not a while back, but currently I'm playing with Centurion. But it did inspire me to head back over to the ice barrier and mess with the list a little bit. The new cards I will talk about in a second as we get through the list, but I do want to make a note that this deck essentially wins just outright going first. Um, there really is only one card that kind of hard beats it. Right? I shouldn't say just one card. If your opponent has two hand traps, most of the time you're gonna have a hard time making a great board, but you can still make Lancia even after two hand traps most of the time. So to start off, obviously we're still playing the Raiho. The general is just insane, right? He's your go-to. General Wayne, the other general. Uh, General Wayne's good. I keep him in the main because he does help going second to break boards. He does come in handy because he can search this, which searches then any other ice barrier, right? So Spellbreaker in the main because Spellbreaker is just an auto win if I can get to it. Like if I can get to full combo, which most of the time you can. Spellbreaker is pretty much an auto win for the deck. So it's an anti-spell, searchable Hexa, 2 of. I was mucking around with Hexa's ratio, and I think 2 of's fine because you still want someone special from deck, ideally, and you like having it in hand isn't awful because it is the one card starter. It can get you to your draw 4, just the Hexa. Yeah, and it's a tuner, obviously. It's just another like 500 attack defense changer, so that kind of comes up sometimes. 2 Georges. Georges mainly is my go-to against anything Fiendsmith or Snake Eye or maybe even Voiceless, but just anything that has shit to do with the grave. Georges is coming out ASAP. Almost an auto win against a lot of those decks that interact with grave. Ranigrian, can't say too much about that. I mean, like Ranigrian is just an insane card in any water deck. Water Synchro deck, I should mention. 3 Mirror Mage. Mirror Mage at 3 because I am playing the 3 droplet. But 3 Mirror Mage is appropriate, I think. As well as the area. I'll explain that area in a little bit. But 2 Speaker. Speaker comes in handy. I was messing around with it at 3, but since it's not a one card, it doesn't do anything. It's not a combo piece. I think 2 is good. Revealer, probably one of the best cards in the deck. Auto win against Flu, which has been kind of making its way back. But yeah, Revealer's your one card starter. Pretty insane. Freezing Chains is good. I was at 2, but I think 1's okay for now. Playing enough hand traps that if they like Bell or whatever, the Freezing Chains or whatever they do, like Ghost Ogre it. I can't even Ghost Ogre it, never mind. It's fine. Freezing Chains is good. Now onto the, well, I guess before I get onto the area, I want to say, yes, the 3 medallion, the 1 wins. The wins is how you get to your Spellbreaker. But the area of the Water Channel I think is insanely good for the deck. I'll explain why. So some people play Small World, some people decide to play some other searchers, which is totally fine. It's just personal preference on how you want to play the deck, in my opinion. I like area personally because you have I do main deck the Pirellia, so area comes up a lot, and it's full combo if you draw Pirellia for turn and you're stuck with an area, because you can just pitch it and then search out Revealer with the area, right? Because it's a level 4. So there's that, as well as this neat little interaction with area sending the Mirror Mage, because you can search essentially anything except for Hexa. After you pitch the Mirror Mage, and then you give New Chain Mirror Mage effect, add any Ice Bear card, right? So those 2 cards alone is a pretty good way to start off a turn. And yeah, Ares just a generic, great level 5 card. Even if you're pitching herself, like you draw 2, I mean, worst case, you're searching off Georges, Randy Green, General Wayne, one of those cards. It's really good. And then for the non-engine, the droplets I think are very important because you don't really you do kind of care if your stuff gets sent to grave, but you can always search it and reborn it with essentially the Monster Reborn. Um, so it's not a big deal. Plus, you gain advantage off of setting a Mirror Mage. So I think Droplet's great. Ash, because we are playing Impulse. Now, normally I wouldn't. That's the only non-water I'm playing in the deck. Normally I'd be like, like, no, let's stick with non-waters. But I think I decided, like I said, with Centurion to take 12, or 15, sorry, 15 non-engine, but 12 hand traps in this build, which I think is bare minimum right now in the format. Like, you have to. So I just think that these are the best lineup of hand traps right now for just overall hits. You know, Bloss, Ash, Impulse, Imperm, and you know, Ogre is also extremely good. I would consider throwing it in, but because I have Impulse in there, I'm like, maybe not. But yeah, that's the main deck. I'm loving the lineup. So we'll do some test hands in a second. Side deck, we get the Ghost Sister, IDP, Anti-Tenpai, which I do side in for that, Nib, Evenly, and the 2 Furowas. The Furowas, keeping his side as 2, 1, because it's a wind, and 2, because if you think about it, it's kind of the same concept as Tenpai, making the 3 Furowas, 1 Pirellia. I like the Pirellia because it's honestly just a water, and it synergizes much better with the whole deck. But this is like, I would side this in, you know, going second and take out an engine piece or 2. Yeah, and Nib's just an overall great side in. Like, usually I'd side Nib in for, you know, maybe Impulse or Ash if I just want to affect their board. Because Ash alone is weak, so might end up swapping these 2 if it's not, like, if you're not playing a lot of hand traps, it's not the best. And then the extract's pretty standard. Dragite, Coral, Rainy Green, 2 Lancias, Croc, Chen Ying, Trish, the other Trish, Grail Dragon. I was debating taking Grail Dragon out. Kind of wanted to replace it with the other Ice Barrier card, so then I could play the Trap. But that's more of a control-heavy approach, so the Grail Dragon's fine for now. It's kind of a flex spot. Bahamut, totally can't take those out. Tomb Princess does come up, and then the World Sea. Yeah, so all right, so let's say we're going first here. We are going to probably, do we need the search quite yet? Yes. Now let's say they don't shotgun their own Pirellia and draw phase. As we see, that's fine. Okay, great. So now we're popping off. Yes, if they shotgun the Furowas, we just accept it. Like, we're going to try to go for our own draw 4 anyways, but we're going to start it here by normal summoning our Revealer, and then we're going to go effect, send the Pirellia, and we're going to try to special out a Hexa. Now, Hexa is going to attempt to send the Mirror Mage to the grave. Now, if it gets impermed, it's fine. Like, it's whatever. You have 2 or more ways to search in a combo. I'll show a line if it gets stopped that way. But essentially, you're going to go Mirror Mage effect. Mirror Mage is going to search out your speaker. You're going to go speaker effect from hand. You're going to overlay. This is in your 4th summon. You're going to go for Bahamut, and then you're going to go Bahamut effect. Detach, doesn't matter what you detach. I like to usually detach speaker just because it gives you an extra kind of body if they imperm your Bahamut. You don't need to, but so we're going to the Toad. You're protecting against Nib at this point, or any other hand trap that they draw if they didn't hand trap you already. And you know, if they Furowas you like in response to the Revealer, they're drawing 3, which by the time totally hits, which not great. But keep in mind, if they're not hand trapping you, getting to this end board, they're not beating you. I promise you. All right, so you are going to link 2 into Coral. You are going to go Coral effect. You're going to special the Mirror Mage back. You're going to go Mirror Mage effect to tribute. Give yourself 3 Ice Berry tokens, level 5. You make your level 6 into the Synchro, which is your Coral Dragon. And because you control an Ice Berry, you can banish this. Give yourself another token, and 3 plus 6 is 9. So you guys know what we're going for here. Now, you could do this. Okay, this is one option, right? So this is your draw 4 combo, right? Here's where you usually have an option. Instead of going for the Mirror Mage search for the speaker, you do have another option. Okay, so here's where you would synchro in a croc and draw 4. Now the other option here, if we go back, right? So let's say you just made the croc and you didn't search speaker out, right? Well, instead of searching speaker out, you can search wins. So most of the time, if I get to Toad, usually I'm going for the draw 4, depending on the hand. And I have 2 searchers as well. So in this case, I'd probably prioritize the wins. So when you have Mirror Mage on board after you link off the 2 for Coral Anemone, you're going the same exact route, right? You're going to attribute all of these off. Same exact thing. But here, you're just going to attribute 2 of these, right? And you're going to attribute 2 of those. You're going to special summon out a level 4, which can be the speaker. Doesn't really matter, like, really what level 4 or lower you special out. But the other one, you are going to special out your Spellbreaker. And at this point, like, they do, I believe they draw 2 off the Furwas, but it's like even now, they Valor Impermu, like, you're kind of taking a risk, but better have it is kind of what I'm saying. Besides, you got totally to protect at least one interaction. And here at this point, you're just going to go Spellbreaker, and because you have Revealer Engrave, you can banish instead, and now they can activate spell cards. So, and then this is a 5 still, and that's a 5. Sorry, that's a 1, and that's a 4. So you know what that means. It's a 5 plus a 5 gives you your Lancia. So now your 1-card combo ends with 1 card plus discard ends with totally an anti-spell and a Lancia that switches them to defense position. So this is ideally the God board, but let's go over what happens if you get interrupted once or twice. So pretty good board, but no non-engine. It's all engine. So pretty good for making a board. But let's see if we can get to a draw 4 through like 1 or 2 interruptions. All right. So let's see. Ideally, I'd go Revealer here. You go Revealer effect, pitch the Mirror Mage. Now they're going to see Mirror Mage and be like, oh, they're going to get an effect to search anyways. So if they have, let's just say that they impermanent, for example, right? So now we go Mirror Mage effect, search. Okay, let's say they have Ash, right? They go Imperm Ash. That's pretty good. Okay, so Imperm Ash. So let's say they do Imperm Ash. They're like pretty confident. They burn 2 hand traps. But you've got extenders in hand. This is a pretty good hand to have an extender in. I will say that. But you can still, even if you don't have this, you can still get your draw 4. So the Imperm Ash here, you have speaker or a way to get to speaker in hand. You special it out, right? Now if they have 3 hand traps, you just accept that. Having 3 hand traps is kind of insane. So you go Coral. Coral, you're going to special back your Mirror Mage, you're going to tribute, you're going to make your 4 tokens, and you're going to banish your speaker. After you make your tokens, make your croc, or make your Coral, and then you make your croc, and then you draw 4. Right? So you're going to draw 4, and like through 2 hand traps, still this isn't even that bad, right? So looking at what we have here, we have a Pirelli that's kind of useless. We have a Spellbreaker that we can't really use. However, we can do something very interesting in this particular hand. So how I would do it is I would special the Grand Green out by pitching the Spellbreaker, and I would make my Lancia, right? Because if they do happen to have Nib here, you want to make Lancia as soon as possible. If not, it's like if they have it, they have it. So like you're making Lancia, but then the neat part is because you have your Freezing Chains, you can go Freezing Chains and target your Spellbreaker and still make the anti-spell lock anyways because you have that engrave. So it's almost the same end board through 2 hand traps if they hand trap there, which is pretty good. Now, granted, the anti-spell combo in this case was only because I had Freezing Chains in hand, but like with the draw 4, you're also drawing into all this, right? So let's do another test hand. Last test hand. So in this case, this is not awful. You don't really have a true combo starter. However, you do have Hexa, so we're gonna play it a little protective here. You're gonna go Hexa effect to Foolish. Let's say they're like, okay, that's fine, whatever. Go ahead and do your Foolish. I don't care. Right? They go Mirror Mage. Okay, so I go Mirror Mage effect to search. Maybe they want to Ash here if they have the Ash. Let's just say they don't and they want to imperm later, for whatever reason. So off of that, I'm most likely searching Freezing Change because I want to be able to have something on board. I'm not going to be able to combo a ton here. However, if I want Mirror Mage to get back and essentially execute the same combo of the anti-spell, I'm going to have to select Winds here, not the Reborn. So here it's still fine. We can still do the draw 4 combo. It's not ideal, but we can still do it. Most likely I'm going to do it. So we're going to go George's Effect. We're going to use George's Effect to special back to Mirror Mage. Okay. And we're going to go Speaker Effect. Okay, like I said, it's not optimal, but we have the option. Then we're going to link off the Speaker and the Hexa to make room for the Marincess. We have to use the Marincess to tribute these off. And then you're going to use one of them for the Coral, right? So you got 2 more tokens left. And you're going to banish this. Same thing, guys, right? Nothing much has really changed. And then you go for Croc, and you draw 4, right? Now, this is with the hand uninterrupted. Now, if they decide to imperm the Croc, okay, let's say you draw 1, right? Let's just say like they know it's coming, so they imperm the Croc. Draw 1. Even draw 1, not awful, right? Check our grave. We've got some follow-up if we want to add back to hand, but not a ton in hand. So what would I do here if they've impermed that and that's their only hand trap? Okay, well, I have Georges here still. I would just honestly make a Lancia here, right? I make a Lancia. He doesn't, I mean, I could keep these 2 in hand for a pop. Could be a better option, but right now, Lancia just puts in work because I get Raiho out, and then Georges is active as soon as Raiho gets out. So it's that's how I'd approach a board if I got hand trapped once. Now, like let's say worst case scenario, right? Let's just say I get hand trapped 3 times going first, right? So let's say I go normal summon if they have like 2 imperms, right? So I go effect the impermanent. I go effect search. Where are you here? Yeah, I would go speaker, and you go speaker effect special. You go overlay for the Bahamut. Come on, you. Bahamut effect, they impermanent. I say, okay, great. Don't have a ton of options here, right? Like, wasn't a great hand. They impermed it, and they impermed it again. So I am just going to sit here with 2 impulse in hand and pass. That's just how some of the hands go. If you get double hand traps, sometimes there's only so much you can do about it. But Say it's the same thing with Centurion, right? Like the engine, you can only do so much about. And the idea of the deck is I'm trying to up the number of these hand traps I see. So in the future, I may revamp the deck list, but for the time being, that is everything. And thank you guys for tuning in. If you made it this long, you're a warrior. Appreciate you. Catch you guys next time in the next video.